Go Bowlful, and this is Uncut News. Tragedy struck one family in Sophia yesterday after their 10-year-old son, Anthony Court, was murdered during a home invasion. The police said that Court was with his mother at a neighbor's home when two masked bandits busted into the home with guns drawn. Court was upstairs while the bandits robbed the victims downstairs over their belongings. The men then ordered the victims upstairs right as the youngster was exiting the bedroom. They immediately shot him in the shoulder and ran off like the cowards they are. Hearing of this tragedy, both the government and opposition decided not to let a publicity opportunity go to waste. They both visited Court's family to offer their condolences, which, if they were really being sincere, they should have visited without the cameras. I'm just saying, that's just me. Anyway, the police arrested two persons this morning, a man and his girlfriend, in connection with the shooting death of Court. They are currently assisting with the investigation, which hopefully means they are beating them until they confess. Although that is only if these are actually the people who did it. Because, it's the police we're talking about after all. This morning, former head of the Lands and Surveys Commission, Trevor Ben, was charged with fraud. According to the prosecution, in January 2018, Ben illegally leased 6 acres of state land in Ogle to Jonico V-Day Industrial Engineering for $27 million, despite allegedly not having the authority to do so. He was not required to plead to the indictable charge. Nevertheless, Ben was released on $200,000 bail and will make his next court appearance on March 31st. Today, former President Donald Ramotar won his $20 million defamation lawsuit against Guyana News, its publisher Glenn Law, and former editor-in-chief Adam Harris. The lawsuit stemmed from a Guyana News article in 2019, which suggested that Ramotar illegally signed and granted 2 oil block licenses to 2 unknown, unexperienced oil companies. Apart from the damages, he was also awarded $2.4 million in costs. Down in Linden, the family of the now deceased 47-year-old Wismar resident Samuel de Souza is accusing the authorities of a cover-up. Last Saturday, de Souza was found dead near his home shortly after having an altercation with her mother and her daughter. While the official post-mortem examination claims de Souza died of low blood pressure, his family is unconvinced, and they are now calling for an independent post-mortem. According to his family, one of the suspects allegedly works for the government, and they suspect that they may have influenced the coroner's report. Nevertheless, we will bring you an update as details arise. Now it's time to tell you about Best Buy's car of the day. Currently on sale is this 2018 Suzuki Swift RS Sports Edition. It comes with Bluetooth, CD stereo, steering controls, crystal light, marked rims, fog lamps, and much, much more. Pay cash for $3.6 million, or pay down as low as $720,000 with around $70,000 monthly, and it's yours. Call or WhatsApp 662-0844 for more info, or visit their showrooms at 171 Peter Rose Street, Queenstown, or Lot 2 Lamar Street, and tell them Noriko sent you for this sweet deal. Yesterday, 32-year-old registered nurse Johan London of Linton was charged with molesting a young boy. Sicko. London was charged with 4 counts of sexual activity committed on a male minor child. The nurse was not required to plead to the charges. Bail was denied, and he was remanded to prison until March 16th. Today, the Ministry of Public Works officially commissioned the $185 million runway at the Lethem Aerodrome. The construction of the runway, which took about a year to finish, will allow for larger aircraft to land. This also means that this will probably attract more regional carriers, as the Lethem Aerodrome has since been upgraded to an international airport. 49-year-old fish vendor Compton Fecker, with an E, was found guilty of beating his son's father-in-law, Alvin Melville, in the head with a hammer. Fecker was remanded to jail due to Melville not being able to attend court, and he is expected back in court on March 22nd. However, despite partially losing his vision and hearing after the attack, Melville does not wish for the Fecker to go to prison. He told the High Court that he just wants Fecker to pay for his medical bills, as he has been unable to work since the beating. Whether or not the court will take his wishes into account, well, we'll just have to say. You can multiply your cash by selling digital top-up. This is a legit way you can earn some extra money at your business or to supplement your existing side hustle. Become a top-up vendor quick and easy through Cellular Plus. Call them on telephone number 685-3109 for more info. It's now time for today's Runner Report. Today, the nation recorded 76 new cases. There are now a total of 206 persons dead and 6 persons in the ICU. There are now 562 persons in home isolation, and the total number of known cases in the nation now stands at 9,069. So please, people, wash your hands frequently. Avoid touching your nose and mouth and mask up before you leave the house. When you do leave home, try to avoid enclosed spaces and large crowds. And remember to give 6 feet of space between you and others. Now, let's take a look at news in the region. The Biden administration is not in a rush to change its Cuba policy, which is currently under review, White House spokeswoman Jen Psaki said at a press briefing this week. According to her, a Cuba policy shift is not currently among Biden's top priorities. She added that the administration was committed to making human rights a core pillar of the U.S. policy, which is something new, and to carefully reviewing policy decisions made in the prior administration, including the decision to designate Cuba as a state sponsor of terrorism. Joe Biden promised during his campaign to lift current restrictions on remittances and travel to the island, but it is unclear if he will actually try to warm up relations with Havana. Robbery season might be over, but the streets are still mean. If I were you, I would consider getting security for the home or business. I personally recommend Sheriff Security Service. I find that they are the most professional, with well-trained armed or unarmed guards. Get some security, people. In Trinidad, 35-year-old Tamika Harris is suspected to have drowned at the Manzanilla beach yesterday morning. Harris was a part of a group from the Faith Healing Spiritual Baptist Church. According to reports, around 4:16 a.m., she removed her clothing and went into the water. However, since it was still dark, the group quickly lost sight of her. About 30 minutes later, her body was observed floating near the shore. And now for our weird news story of the day. The award for the dumbest criminal of the week goes to 50-year-old Texas resident Eric Dion Warren. Prosecutors said in the summer of 2019, he needed cash for a down payment on a BMW. So, what did he do? Well, he went to a car dealership, took the BMW for a test drive, he then drove it to a bank, robbed the place, and then brought the stolen money back to try to use it for the down payment. Officials say about 15 minutes after the robbery, Warren showed up at the dealership waving around a wad of cash. He eventually went into the finance office and tried to finalize the purchase of the BMW with a $3,000 cash down payment. But things fell apart for Warren when an employee got a call about the recent bank robbery, all while he was still sitting there in the office. They then called the cops, and he was arrested. On Wednesday, Warren pleaded guilty to bank robbery and was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. If you own one of the best diesel engines in the world, then the name Cummins is very familiar to you. But even the best engines need spare parts, am I right? Powered Automotive truck spares and engine parts at 1161 EE Eccles stocks Cummins engine parts for 6BT and 6CT engines and much more. Call or WhatsApp 697-0171 or follow Powered Automotive truck spares and engine parts on Facebook. Moving on to our Uncut News Views Poll question of the day. Every day we pose a question about current events in Guyana, the region, the diaspora, and how you feel it relates to us. So, you give your responses in the comments, and we'll read the best ones in the following episode. Yesterday's question was, do you think that the heads of government commissions and unions should be allowed to also be parliamentarians, or is that a conflict of interest? NG the Atheist said, the PPP's main focus is the PSU, and the APNU's main focus was the public servants. So it is most likely that the public servants would want the people who share their interests to represent them. It's sad that neither the PPP nor APNU focuses on small businesses or the poor man who is mostly private sector workers. Carl Smith says, show me a commissioner who is not appointed by a political party. And finally, Ramella Ford said, it's clear that our current democratic model is not working, including the way Parliament works. It is essential that these bodies' concerns are voiced. The ministers are too high up the chain to feel what some public servants are going through. I agree fully. Now for tonight's question. What do you think about the whole Trevor Ben case? Do you think he's guilty, or is he taking the blame for someone else? Think about that question and tell us in the comments below. If your response is good enough, we just might feature it in our next episode. Anyway, that's all the time we have for tonight. Check us out Monday for another. Until then, I'm Noriko Bullford saying, have a great weekend. And as always, don't drink and drive, or you'll end up on Monday's episode the hard way. Ha ha! Good night, folks. Hey Uncut News viewers, thanks for watching. You can subscribe by clicking on this button over here, or click over there for more news. You can also drop a comment to let me know if you've made it to the end of the video. Goodbye for now.